Calling to order the Board of Administration meeting. Happy Wednesday. I'm going to start with roll call. Please. Thank you.
Teresa Taylor.
Here.
David Miller. Malia Cohen. Patrick Henning for Fiona Ma. Lisa Middleton.
Present.
Marina Ortega. Jose Luis Pacheco.
Present.
Kevin Palke.
Good morning.
Ramon Rubacava.
Present.
Yvonne Walker. Melissa Willett.
And David's here.
Dr. Gail Willis. And then David Miller.
All right. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is Malia.
Hi,
Good to see
Malia.
you on the screen. Just checking in.
All right. We're going to go right into closed session, Malia. So when you get back on, I'm going to have you attest to the closed session.
No problem. I'll be ready.
All right, so we'll recess now into closed session for items 1 and 2 from the closed session agenda, and we'll immediately reconvene in open session after the closed session. So thank you very much, everybody. Sorry, we have to clear the room. I guess. Yeah. Open session. So we're going to move back into the remainder of the open session agenda, starting with, we don't need to do call to order again, do we? Roll call. We do? Okay. We're going to start with roll call all over again.
Teresa Taylor,
Here.
David Miller,
Here.
Controller Malia Cohen.
Was she on?
She is.
Malia? She must be on the phone or something.
Patrick Henning. Lisa Middleton.
Present.
Arena Ortega. Jose Luis Pacheco.
Present.
Kevin Palkey.
Good morning.
Ramon Rubacava.
Present.
Yvonne Walker.
Here.
Melissa Willett. Dr. Gail Willis.
No? Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. I didn't ask anybody to lead for the Pledge of Allegiance, so Mr. Pacheco, would you like to lead the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Pacheco, for the short notice and helping. So then we're going to move on to item number 4, which is our Chief Executive Officer's report. Ms. Frost?
Thank you, President Taylor, and good morning, everyone. I'd like to focus my remarks on a few items of interest on our calendar, and then I will also discuss some promising developments on the issue of corporate transparency, something that CalPERS has been passionate about for a very long time. But first, I want to briefly express my support. I didn't get a chance to do that on Monday. for our Chief Investment Officer, Nicole Musico, who did announce her intent to step down later this month. Nicole's tenure at CalPERS was shorter than either she or I had hoped, but she has helped the organization bridge the gap between its aspirations and its operations, and we are better for it. Her decision to focus on family took courage, and we will be rooting for her as she returns home to Canada. There is one thing I would like to correct when it comes to some of the news coverage of the past few days. Our leadership team remains in place, from the very capable managing investment directors to the organization's entire executive team. Our members should know that we aren't going to miss a beat when it comes to the work that we need to do to fulfill the mission of CalPERS. As you know, Deputy CIO Dan Bienvenu will step in at the end of this month, and we will waste no time in launching a wide-ranging recruitment for our new permanent CIO. Now on to a look at what's on the horizon. Since we last met in July, our teams have been busy working behind the scenes on outreach events for members and for our public employers. The annual Education Forum is one of those events, taking place October 2nd through October 4th at the Westin Bonaventure Hotel in Los Angeles. This is our annual event with employers. It's very well attended, and we have an opportunity to get together and strengthen the partnership that we have with those public agencies and employers. We provide them with up-to-date education on policies, rules, and regulations, and really try to assist them in managing their employees' CalPERS benefits. Attendees do tell us that the opportunity to make real personal connections with our teams has been invaluable to them. And through our educational sessions, the exhibit hall where our health plans are also present, one-on-one consultations, our actuaries are always very popular there as well. They just completed all the valuations for all our public employers, and so they are taking appointments to meet one-on-one with them as well. In addition, we every year we get to honor the Spotlight on Excellence recipient whose service to the community has been exemplary. The keynote speaker is Erica Dewan, who is a sought-after speaker and New York Times best-selling author of 2 books on strengthening collaboration to drive innovation and move big ideas forward. I know that several of you will be on hand to interact with our employers and hear firsthand about the issues they face. Registration closed last week, and we're expecting more than 900 attendees. Moving on now to an important reminder for all of our retired members regarding the data breach we reported in June. The deadline to sign up for the 2 years of credit monitoring through Experian is September 30th. That's just 10 days from now. We sent out a new round of communication on September 6th to raise awareness of that deadline. We now have nearly 180,000 members who have signed up for credit monitoring, which is almost 1 of every 4 retirees who were impacted. The team from Experian tells us that they typically see a 4 to 6% take-up rate in the incidents that they handle. Regardless, we want to ensure that our retirees are well aware of the time they have left to respond. I do want to take just a moment to thank the team. There was the email that we generated as a reminder did accumulate a lot of inbound calls as well as emails coming in. I just want to thank the team. Everyone pitched in from our Senior Leadership Council, which is all the CEAs in the organization, down to some of our staff service manager ones. Everyone just came in to help Kim Malm and her team. So I just want to express my appreciation for our entire team in willing to step up and help handle this for our retirees. Finally, I want to take a few minutes to highlight some significant developments in recent days and weeks in an effort to expand transparency when it comes to both our investments and corporate America. I wanted to call out some of these items because it feels as though there's been finally some real momentum on the issue, something we've been advocating for a number of years. Our firm belief in the importance of transparency, both in our partners and in ourselves, is deeply ingrained in almost everything we do. We have championed a number of initiatives through the years designed to bring more consistent clarity to the decisions we make when it comes down to where we invest on behalf of our members and their families. Late last month, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission finalized a rule to require more disclosure from private fund advisors. As the board knows, we are outspoken during the process about the need for clear and consistent information about the operations of our partners. As we said last year, it's important for us to know whether these partners are managing our capital effectively. The ruling is lengthy, and our team continues to review how well it meets the standards we support in our communications with the SEC. We've also seen a number of developments on the state level, and those efforts now have the support of Governor Gavin Newsom. Our legislative affairs team closely monitored two bills relating to transparency, both of which the governor said this week that he would sign into law. Senate Bill 253 will require large companies to more broadly disclose greenhouse gas emissions. Senate Bill 261, meanwhile, will soon require even more companies to report on the financial risks due to climate change. While the board did not take a formal position on either bill, we've been in frequent contact with the legislature on these topics. These bills represent what could be called the California way when it comes to climate change. We agree with those who feel the urgent need to act, and these bills may spark more of this kind of national discussion that is long overdue. As we have said many times, we view the sweeping disruptions to our climate and the warming of the earth as a material risk that needs to be disclosed and documented. Climate change represents risk to the portfolio, one of the key three risks that this organization has identified, but it also does represent opportunity to partner with those who are leading the fight to stop it. It's welcome news that others also see the urgency for more information about these risks, and we will continue to seek out partners both in the halls of government and in corporate boardrooms. So that does conclude my report, President Taylor, but I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Frost. I'm not seeing any questions from the board. I do have... Malia, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to let you know I missed the roll call, but I am present.
Yes, Malia is present. Thank you, Malia.
And thank you to the executive director for her report.
Thank you. I do have one public comment from Mr. Behrens, if you'd like to come down here and make your public comment. And then I'll do my president's report. Love the tie, Tim.
President, oh, my phone's going off in the back of the room, sorry. Tim Behrens, California State Retirees, President Taylor, members of the board. I just wanted to give you some feedback about the breach. And we appreciate the fact that Kim keeps giving us updates and what percentage of our retirees, million plus, have been affected by this. My travels across the state, while the members are thankful to get 2 years of identity theft protection, the majority of them would prefer to have 10 years or a lifetime. The issue is that 2 years is not very long for somebody that steals your information to wait and then use your information. So I wanted to give you that feedback, and again, thank CalPERS for giving us the updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Behrens. I have one more that just showed up. Elnora, you want to come down and talk?
Good morning, Eleanor Fretwell, with CSR. Hopefully it's not the wrong question to ask. The educational forum, is it too late to enroll?
That's a question I don't know the answer to. Marcy does.
Registration did close, but let's talk on a break.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. With that, I'm going to move on to the president's report. Apologies, Ms. Frost. My bad. Just skipped right over it. So good morning, everyone. I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege because last week, the Financial News Journal Pensions and Investments announced its inaugural class of influential women in institutional investing, and our own Marcy Frost was named to the list. Marcy's one of the 65 women on the list representing nearly $47 trillion in capital. In writing about these women, P&I's president and publisher, Nikki Perillo, said the group represents the power of this industry to drive positive change across markets, the desire to improve outcomes for beneficiaries, and the opportunity to shine a spotlight on what it means to be a successful woman in institutional investing today. The field of women were selected by nearly 20 judges in financial research, education, and investment services, and a stellar advisory board that developed the selection criteria. The women were celebrated last week at the Pension and Investments Conference in Chicago. And Marcy, I know you couldn't go to the event because you were preparing for our board meeting. So we wanted to, as a board, recognize you and congratulate you today on this well-deserved honor. So congratulations. If I had your little award, I'd bring it over to you, but I don't. So I'm going to move on to, a week ago, our nation celebrated Labor Day, a day that recognizes the American labor movement and the contributions of workers. It's more than a federal holiday or the unofficial end of summer and barbecue day. We celebrate the day to recognize the women and men who campaign tirelessly for workers' rights. Their hard-fought wins are why so many of us enjoy paid time off, sick leave, and safe working conditions. These are the same freedoms and liberties that we support in the companies we invest in, and why this week we discuss consolidating and refining our existing labor principles into our total fund policy. The greatest asset a company has is its workers, and research has shown that good management of workers leads to better companies and better performance. I want to thank the board for the discussions and feedback we had on Monday around this topic, and as well as our labor brothers and sisters who showed up to comment on it. And we look forward to the second reading of the labor principles in November. Now let me turn to the education forum. Let me turn to education. In my role as president, I've made this one of my top priorities. For those that may not be aware, the board has a formal policy on education, and state law requires that all board members and their designees receive a minimum of 24 hours of education within the first 2 years of assuming office. This can be in the form of workshops that are put together by our leadership team, annual fiduciary training, accredited courses, online training, and participation at conferences and seminars. Each of us sitting up here come to this board with diverse backgrounds and experiences, and this education helps broaden our perspectives and knowledge so that we can make informed decisions that are in the best interests of our members and employers. If you want to follow along on our education journey, we do provide reports on our website that list the trainings and hours of education by individual board member. Many of you have seen some of them here that take place. It will give you a kind of a picture of where we spend some of our time outside of our scheduled board meetings. And I think it's important to note that while this training is required, we do so in a fiscally responsible manner. So I'm going to end here with a preview of our next meeting. We will not be meeting in October due to our employer educational forum. We are scheduled to meet next November 13th through 15th. And there is one item up for discussion that I'm anxiously awaiting, and that's the building blocks of our sustainable investment strategy and the path to net zero, being presented by our new head of sustainable investments, Peter Cashin. It should be a really good discussion. And with that, we'll move on to the next the next agenda item. And that is, hold on. That's our action consent items. So I need to know the pleasure of the board. It's moved by Mr. Pacheco, seconded by Mr. Miller. We need a roll call, so go ahead.
David Miller.
Aye.
Controller Cohen.
Aye.
Patrick Henning.
Aye.
Lisa Middleton. Arena Ortega. Jose Luis Pacheco.
Aye.
Kevin Palke.
Aye.
Ramon Rubacava.
Aye.
Yvonne Walker. Melissa Willett.
All right, motion carries. With that, we will move on to the information consent items. And having received no request to remove anything, then we will move on to 7 committee reports. So let's start with Mr. Miller. You want to hit your on the investment committee? It didn't. Oh, sorry. It's being.
Not the only one.
Nope, you're not.
There we go. Hi. Hello, everyone. Good morning. The Investment Committee met on September 18th, 2023. The committee received reports on the following topics: revisions to the total fund policy, governance and sustainability principles, first reading; CalPERS trust level review, CalPERS trust level review consultant report, global fixed income annual program review, and global public equity annual program review. The committee heard public comment on the following topic: labor practices and issues, investment reporting, environmental issues, and climate change. At this time, I would like to share some highlights of what to expect at the November Investment Committee meeting. Revisions to the CalPERS investment policy for insider trading. Revisions to the total fund policy, governance and sustainability principles, second reading. Emerging and diverse managing report to the legislature. Mid-cycle asset liability management review. Total fund portfolio management program annual review. Sustainable investing annual program review. Responsible contractor policy, and consultants' review of CalPERS divestments. The next meeting of the Investment Committee is scheduled for November 13th, 2023 in Sacramento, California. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. With that, I'm going to move on to the Pension and Health Benefits Committee. And Mr. Rubalcava, can you hit your button? There you go.
Thank you. The Pension and Health Benefits Committee met on September 19, 2023, yesterday. The committee received reports on the following topics. The committee received an overview of the PPO solicitation and reviewed a new business plan initiative to engage audiences through proactive policy communications. The committee received public comment regarding ACO REACH and better communication about Delta Dental and the vision plan administered by CalHR. The chair directed staff to explore out-of-state plan options through the PPO solicitation process and report back. At this time, I would like to share some highlights of what to expect at the November committee meeting. The committee will receive the 2022 CalPERS Health Benefits Program Annual Report, a presentation on Health Policy Forum, and will approve the Health Benefits Program proposals for 2025 and a long-term care request for proposal. The next meeting of the Pension and Health Benefits Committee is scheduled for November 14, 2023 in Sacramento, California. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Rubalcava. I have public comment on 7B. Mr. Behrens.
President Taylor, members of the board, Jim Behrens, California State Retirees. So I had this epiphany last night about the issues I was talking about yesterday, and that is Delta Dental and Vision. And I'm wondering, I'm not sure about when the date was that retirees were incorporated into CalHR to have them administrate that particular fund, but we don't bargain, so we don't have a voice when it comes to our dental and our vision. So I'm wondering if there could be a meeting between CalPERS and CalHR to see if they wanted to bring retirees back into the CalPERS fold and have CalPERS administrate dental and vision. It's a very big ask, and I know it's a very complicated matter, but it's just wanted to throw it out there so you don't stop talking about it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Behrens. We will move on to 7C, Finance Administration Committee, and that's Ms. Middleton. Hold on. Oh, gotcha. Maybe.
All right,
There
thank
you
you.
go.
The Finance and Administration Committee met on September 19, 2023. The committee recommends, and I move, the board approve the following. Agenda item 3C, approve the annual discharge of accountability for uncollectible debt.
On motion by committee, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will need a roll call vote, please.
David Miller,
Aye.
Controller Cohen,
Aye.
Patrick Henning.
Aye.
Lisa Middleton,
Aye.
Arena Ortega.
Aye.
Jose Luis Pacheco,
Aye.
Kevin Palke,
Aye.
Ramon Rubalcaba,
Aye.
Yvonne Walker, Melissa Willett.
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right. The committee received reports on the following: annual actuarial valuation terminated agency pool, CalPERS board election methods and stakeholder engagement, investment return impact on employer contributions. The chair directed staff to bring back the funding risk mitigation policy as an information item at a future date. The committee heard public comment on the following topics: CalPERS board election methods and stakeholder engagement. At this time, I would like to share a highlight of what to expect at the November 2023 Finance and Administration Committee meeting, the 2023-24 mid-year budget revisions, the 2022-23 basic financial statements. The next meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee is scheduled for September 14, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Middleton. We will move on to Mr. Pacheco for his report on 7D, Performance Compensation and Talent Management Committee.
Thank you, President Taylor, and good morning. The Performance and Compensation and Talent Management Committee met on September 19th, 2023. The committee heard public comment. At this time, I would like to share some highlights of what to expect at the February 2024 Performance Compensation and Talent Management Committee meeting, the mid-year status report on the CEO's fiscal year 2023-2024 incentive plan. The next meeting of the Performance, Compensation, and Talent Management Committee is scheduled for February 2024 in Sacramento, California. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. With that, we have public comment on 7D on the phone.
Madam President, we have JJ to 7D. Go ahead, JJ.
JJ?
Speaking. JJ Jelencic, beneficiary, speaking for myself. You talk about openness and transparency and accountability. The California Attorney General's office, in its guide to the Bagley-Keene Act, has said, "We do not think discussion of employee compensation may be conducted in closed session in light of the appellate court decision interpreting a similar exemption in the Brown Act." However, this may be one of the laws that Matt Jacobs doesn't think applies to CalPERS. The attitude you hold towards the public and beneficiaries is disclosed by the fact that the committee only agendized and accepted comments after the committee had discussed and made a decision on compensation. The board discussed the committee recommendations in closed session today. Reviewing committee actions and reports is one of the secret exemptions to the requirements for open meetings that the legislature failed to include in the government code. Since I have no idea what the compensation decision was, I have no basis for further rational comment, and therefore I will make none. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jelencic. With that, we will move on to 7E, Risk and Audit. And that's Mr. Miller, I need you to push your button. There you go.
Hello again. The Risk and Audit Committee met on September 19th, 2023. There were no action agenda items presented to the committee. At this time, I would like to share some highlights of what to expect at the November 2023 Risk and Audit meeting. Independent Auditors Report for fiscal years 2023 through 2024. Review of the Independent Auditors Management Letter. The next meeting of the Risk and Audit Committee is scheduled for November 15th, 2023 in Sacramento, California. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I have no public comment on 7E. Board governance did not meet this month. I think we're meeting in November. With that, we're going to move on to the action agenda items. And for that, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Miller again.
Okay. I move to adopt the proposed decisions at agenda items 8A1 through 5 with the minor modifications argued by staff to agenda items 8A1, 3, and 4.
I'm sorry, on motion, I need a second. Oh, I had it. I think that's Mr. Palkey had said that earlier. I couldn't understand him. So it's been seconded by Mr. Palkey, moved by Mr. Miller. I can't do all those in favor. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
David Miller.
Aye.
Controller Cohen.
Aye.
Patrick Henning.
Aye.
Lisa Middleton.
Aye.
Irene Ortega. Jose Luis Pacheco.
Aye.
Kevin Palkey.
Aye.
Ramon Rubacava.
Aye.
Yvonne Walker. Melissa Willett.
With that, the motion carries. And thank you, Mr. Miller. We are going to move on to 5B, which is the Chief Executive Officer's 2022-23 Incentive Award and 2023-24 base salary. So, Ms. Tucker.
Thank you, President Taylor. Good morning, members of the board. Michelle Tucker, CalPERS team member. The board's compensation policy for executive and investment management positions requires an annual review of performance for the CEO. Agenda item 8B is an action item resulting from the Performance, Compensation, and Talent Management Committee's closed session evaluation of the CEO's fiscal year 22-23 performance. All members of the board were encouraged to participate in the committee's performance discussion. Based on the committee's closed session evaluation, along with the incentive metrics outcomes, the resulting fiscal year 22-23 incentive award for the CEO is $192,682.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there a vote on that?
Vote, yeah.
There is a vote on that. Okay, so it is an action item. So with that, need a motion? Okay, it's moved by Mr. Miller, seconded by Mr. Palkey, and I need a roll call vote.
David Miller.
Aye.
Controller Cohen.
Aye.
Patrick Henning.
Aye.
Lisa Middleton. Irene Ortega. Jose Luis Pacheco.
Aye.
Kevin Palkey.
Aye.
Ramon Rubacava.
Aye.
Yvonne Walker.
Abstain, as I stated in the committee, I have not had the full year to be able to evaluate, and I look forward to participating fully next year.
Melissa Willett.
All right, thank you very much. Motion on that carries. Go ahead, Ms. Tucker.
Thank you, President Taylor. Based on the committee's closed session evaluation, the CEO's 23-24 base salary is $578,267.
Okay. 578, 267. With that, I need a motion on that. It's motion's made by Mr. Pacheco, seconded by Mr. Miller, and I will need a roll call vote for that.
David Miller,
Aye.
Controller Cohen,
Aye.
Patrick Henning, Lisa Middleton, Irina Ortega, Jose Luis Pacheco,
Aye.
Kevin Palke,
Aye.
Ramon Rubalcaba,
Aye.
Yvonne Walker, Melissa Willett.
Thank you, everyone. Motion carries. Ms. Tucker?
Well, these calculations were conducted in accordance with the board's policy using the assigned ratings and weightings and the CEO's fiscal year 22-23 base salary. Thank you, members of the committee and the board. That concludes this action item.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Tucker. Let me make sure I don't have anything on that. I do not. Okay, we are going to move on to 9A, state legislation update, and Mr. Brown.
Good morning, Madam President, board members. Danny Brown, CalPERS team member, and I just have a brief state and federal update for you. On the state side, the legislature wrapped up their regular session for this year last Thursday. The governor has about 970 bills on his desk that he will need to sign or veto by October 14th. So we will be monitoring his actions over the next 3 to 4 weeks. The governor has already signed the retirement system omnibus bill, which included provisions from CalPERS, CalSTRS, and 37 Act counties. As a reminder, the provisions in the bill that impacted CalPERS do the following. It authorizes the State Controller's Office to execute fund-to-fund transfers between the California Employers Pension Pre-Funding Trust, known as the CEP Fund, and the PERF when requested by a contracting agency. It also caps the interest assessed on CalPERS contracting agencies at 10% when a contracting agency fails to remit the required contributions on time. The third item would authorize a judge who is a member of the Judges Retirement System 2 to designate a beneficiary, such as a trust, when choosing certain settlement options in cases where there is no surviving spouse. And then finally, it aligns the required minimum distribution age in the PERL with current and future changes in federal law. We'll be able to provide you with a full update to the legislative year at next meeting in November, along with any alleged proposals that we have for 2024. And with that, I'll shift to the federal update. And I know, as you kind of touched on a little bit on Monday in the Investment Committee, Congress is back from their August recess, but most of their focus is trying to keep the government open by September 30th is the deadline to find a funding mechanism. The House is working on a proposal, which even if they pass it, is not likely to get any votes or move in the Senate. I think the Senate is also, as I read this morning, working on their own proposal. So we will see if they're able to get something done by the 30th. I think history tells us they'll probably take it right up till the end, and I don't think anybody will be surprised if there is a brief shutdown. I did want to point out, mention that on August 9th, President Biden issued a long-awaited outbound investment executive order. That order directs the Treasury to establish a program to prohibit or require notification of certain types of outbound investments by United States persons into certain entities located or subject to the jurisdiction of a country of concern. This typically is focused on China. The order identifies 3 categories of national security technologies and products for the program: semiconductors and microelectronics, quantum information technologies, and artificial intelligence. Then on August 14th, the Treasury Department Office of Investment Security followed up with an advance notice of proposed rulemaking intended to solicit comments on the development and implementation of the program. This AMPRM will be followed up by draft regulations at a later stage in the process, and the final rule is likely to go into effect sometime in June or July of 2024. And so we'll be working with some of our national organizations such as ILPA and NASR just to make sure that the rules are clear and easy for CalPERS to implement. And then finally, I'd like to end by mentioning letters we have sent out since my last update. Last month, we responded to the International Sustainability Standards Board request for information on their 2-year work plan. We advocated that their top priority should be implementing climate disclosures and other sustainability disclosures that we have previously commented on and that new research projects should focus on human capital management reporting. Then 2 weeks ago, we sent a letter to Senator Menendez of New Jersey in support of Senate Bill 2007 on corporate diversity reporting. This bill will require public companies to annually disclose voluntarily self-identified diversity data. We've supported this legislation in the past. It's not likely to move this year, but we just wanted to let the senator know that we're in support and happy to help him move this bill next year. And then, as Don Molds mentioned yesterday in the PHBC, we sent out 2 health-related letters earlier this week. First, we wrote to the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission on draft guidelines related to company mergers. The guidelines offer clarity on the types of mergers that may trigger an investigation by the DOJ or the FTC, and we found that the guidelines align with our goal to mitigate increasing costs of health care. And then secondly, we wrote to congressional leaders in support of legislation designed to lower prescription drug costs by reforming the drug patent and approval systems. Both Senate and House committees have approved legislation that would decrease the cost of prescription drugs, and that support the development of a clear, efficient, and timely regulatory pathway. We hope to see these bills continue to move through the legislative process, but of course everything is dictated on the government staying open and getting some funding. It's hard to imagine right now what other pieces of legislation may move this year. With that, that's the end of my report, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Did you have questions on this? Yes. Hold on one sec. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Brown, for your comments. I'd like to talk about the status on the S2007 Menendez bill. It's called the Improving Corporate Governance Through Diversity Act of 2023. Now, you mentioned that it's not going to move anywhere further. Is it still in the Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs, or did it move from that committee to another committee?
Correct. It's still in Senate Banking, and according to Senator Mendez's office, he doesn't think it's going to be taken up this year. But anyway, we still wanted to get it noted that we are support and can help them next year. Maybe move it through the process.
Was he able to acquire additional co-sponsors from other senators and so forth, or?
There's about 9 co-sponsors on the bill right now, including Senator Alex Padilla.
And were there any colleague letters that were sent out or anything like that to help?
I don't know about colleague letters. I know that there's a number of other businesses that are supporting the legislation, such as even there's bipartisan support on it. Even like the chamber is supporting it, and other business communities.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, and I should note this. I mean, last year the bill got out of the House,
yes,
and then died in the Senate. So, we're hoping that at some point it is a bipartisan issue, but I'm not sure what the holdup is.
On that note, is there a companion bill in the House with respect to this?
Yes, Congressman Meeks again has reintroduced and has the companion bill in the House.
And that's in their committee as well.
It's in the House Financial Services Committee, and this year did not move at all. It didn't get a markup or a hearing.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. Thank you, Mr. Brown. I don't see any other questions from the board. Did you have anything else?
Well, I was just going to note the letter on S2007 and our ISSB survey are both posted on our website if you want to find them, and then the other 2 health letters should be up there next week.
Okay, perfect. So our letters to the legislatures. Correct. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to 9B, which is summary of board direction. Ms. Frost?
I did not note any additional direction other than from the committees.
Thank you very much. I did not either. With that, we will move on to 9C, which is public comment. So I have 3 public commenters. I don't believe I have anybody on the phone. Is that correct? So I'm going to call Abe Bailey and Al Darby and Deb Jenkins down for the 3 seats down here. We'll start with Abe Bailey. And I think I mispronounced Deb's last name, sorry.
Good morning. As I promised, this is my first, last, and only comment to the board. I would hope for 5 minutes, if you would be so kind.
We've got 3 minutes. You didn't.
All right, I'll get going then. This is the journey of a long-time annuitant, 21 years, and 20 years on and off the RPA board for whom I speak. And I want to start with inspiration. Life is a curious treasure. That was a Hiroshima survivor well into his 80s. When you speak wisely, for the sound lasts forever. That's a Native American elder. And Octavia Butler, a science fiction writer, said there is only one constant truth, and that is change. My role now is as a subcommittee chair under legislative action for RPEA. I'm proud to have a couple of former board members and the president, past president of RPA in my subcommittee. I answered to Randy Cheek on the Legislative Action Committee. I truly admire what CalPERS does, and personally, over those 21 years, you've been wonderful to me, my one passed away wife, my current wife, and supposedly indirectly all my children. Before retiring, I helped found 2 significant boards in the North Valley, the Boys and Girls Club and a community foundation. I was chair of the board of both of those and recognize what responsibilities you must have on this unimaginably large and unique situation. You have plenary authority and fiduciary responsibility. Now, I also happen to have gone to law school with a fellow named Chuck Valdez, and I fully understand what the constitutional slot you fill, and that plenary authority is amazing, and it's yours. It's yours, the board, not the staff, the board. Anyway, after my wife died, I got off the RPA board where I held 2 roles, and then shortly after that, I got back on the board. And when I was on the first time in the early 2000s, I was excited. Oh, I'm already down to 21 seconds. Good Lord. The CalPERS effect, where you actually made corporations better. But when I got back in the board, I see you are more a player than a broker. I want you to be an honest broker. And the dismissive and arrogant comment by the now resigned CIO of a drop in the bucket would provide the annuity for 1,700 of our mid-range, our average people. And finally, since 3 minutes goes so fast, I would charge you to show what I tried to ask Mr. Miller about at our GA, leadership from a bully pulpit. I mean, you have a unique situation with plenary authority. And please, transparency. Some other pension board member that said when Nicole resigned that you're in a fishbowl. And you certainly are not in a fishbowl here in California, because we have a hard time finding out what's going on in all of your negotiations, especially with keeping constant leadership at the CIO position and performance. I hope to live long enough to use more of your money and to see again an 80% funding. Thank you for the extra time, and I'm sorry. I didn't take 5, but I'm well past 3.
You did pretty good. I had him give you a couple extra minutes, so thank you, Mr. Bailey. We appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Mr. Darby, go ahead.
Al Darby, Vice President, Retired Public Employees Association. We want to make it clear that RPEA's objective here is to reiterate its commitment to safeguarding the members' money and CalPERS that CalPERS holds in the PERF, grow its funded status, and lessening the unfunded liability, along with reducing classic and Pepper employee and employer normal cost. This could only come through frugal and transparent administrative practices and investment policies that retain and even increase the allocation of CalPERS in its stable and reliable long-term portfolio of global equities. Despite its fluctuations, equities has been the main source of PERF growth. It is liquid and its valuation is always certain. Wall Street gurus continue to make the same recommendation: invest in the S&P 500. Artificial intelligence and internet security firms top the list of high return opportunities. In addition, there are some interesting new investment funds like art and collectibles, and other non-traditional stock funds offer some unique opportunities, and obviously hydrogen fuel, renewable energy, longer life, safe charging batteries are among the options there. In private equity, profits continue to decline. Good investment opportunities are scarce, but there are some still in high-tech and biomed. Bad HR behavior that ethics violations cause ethics violations erode the efficiency of private equity, and this section resists stronger regulation. Since 2008, PERF funded status has ranged from the low 60 range to the low 70s. It was 81% for a short time in mid-2022 after the big stock market run-up. It stands at 72% today. Prior to 2008, the PERF was often at or above 100%. We need to return to the safer at least 80% level. In late 2016, the discount rate was cut from 7.5% to 7%, causing increased employee and employer normal costs to rise significantly. The discount in 2022, the discount rate was cut again to 6.8%, while the average public pension fund is at 7.2%. This raises employer-employee normal costs, at least lower benchmarks, and makes it easier for CalPERS administrators and investment managers to collect their bonuses. And the bonuses keep coming despite poor investment returns. With the lackluster CalPERS return to 21% in the boom fiscal year 2021, while other funds produced closer to 30%, along with the 7.5% CalPERS fund loss in 21-22, we know that better performance is possible. And after 7 years of PERF at 60-70% funded, improvement is needed. This is evidenced by the consistent CalSTRS record of outpacing CalPERS, along with other sizable pension funds, public pension funds around the state that have outperformed CalPERS. So we know that better results are possible. One final note is that I would recommend that you buy all the USFL franchises you can get your hands on.
Mr. Darby, we hear you. Thank you for your comments. Before I move on to Ms. Jenkins, Gail is now online, correct? All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Gail. Deb, go ahead.
Thank you, President Taylor. Deb Jackins, California School Employees. I look forward to the Employers Forum in October, and I can't encourage you enough to keep an open mind and different modes of education for the employers. Over the summer, we had the opportunity to work with Renee Ostrander in changing the way that they delivered some training to the schools, and the Employers Forum provides so much more of that to them. And I just wanted to call it out this month because of an error that occurred with the employers, and the employers continue to make those errors where they failed to enroll an employee for over 30 years. In addition to that, as you can imagine, trying to correct an error that was over 30 years old was, about digging through boxes of paper with probably moths. There were no microfiche at that point, right? And when it got stuck, I just would like to call out the ERT team, Renee Ostrander, who over the last 10 days unclogged the stick, got the employer to waive their appeal rights and allow this 70-plus-year-old woman who has been there for a very long time to retire. So the more that we can do to get the employers to attend the CalPERS trainings, the more partnership that we can do in advertising the trainings with you and for you, the more that we could do to reach out so that they're accurate on behalf of our members, we will have a more successful team together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deb. All right, everybody. With that, I am hearing no additional public comments. Phone, anything? Okay. So we are going to move we'll adjourn right now into closed session for items 1 through 3 from the closed session agenda. This will include the following litigation matters: Wedding et al. v. CalPERS and McCormick v. CalPERS et al. We will also receive the General Counsel's update on pending litigation. After the closed session, the board will reconvene in open session. Thank you very much. Everybody have a nice rest of your week if you don't come back, and we will see you all in November or at the Ed Forum. Re-entering open session. Welcome back. We are going to adjourn this month's Board of Administration and committee meetings. And I have no public comments. Thank you for joining us. We will see everybody at the Ed Forum and then in November. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your week.